Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here, Washington, D.C. Tarpley.net and the Twitter feed, Webster G. Tarpley. These are the things to follow. And buy those books on the right-hand column of Tarpley.net. You got a full array of all of my published works. We talked already about Obama, the Postmodern Coup. It's always important to keep up with surviving the cataclysm. If you want to become knowledgeable, sophisticated, well-versed in recent economic history, be able to argue against Austrians, Keynesians, supply-siders, Chicago boys, Ricardians, whatever they are. You can defeat all of them with the arguments and background that are in that Cataclysm book. In particular, we've also got Obama, Barack H. Obama, the unauthorized biography, the entire story of the Messiah, who's now turned out to be what I said, a recipe for a world tragedy. All right. One other thing strategically, Afghanistan, Pakistan, it's worth remembering now, 2 months after this horrendous incident where the U.S. killed 25 Pakistani troops, that supply line remains closed. So for 2 months, 60 days, no NATO U.S. supplies have gone from the port of Karachi up through Pakistan, across the Khyber Pass, and into Afghanistan. There's another way to do it. There's a northern route, as they call it, but it costs 5 or 6 times as much. So this indicates the depth of the rage in Pakistan. 1,000 trucks are now sitting in parking lots in Karachi because they're not going anywhere. All right, now it's time to shift gears and go to the economic, financial warfare front. And remember, most of the time here we're not dealing with market events. We're dealing with conspiracies, I must say. We're dealing with rigging of the market. Right? We're dealing with market manipulation, illegal in most countries. First of all, we're told that last year, 2011, was the worst year in history for home sales in the United States. How about that? 8 million American families have now been put through foreclosure. So do a multiplier. What's an average family? Somewhere between 3 and 4. You get the idea. You're talking at least 25 million people who have gone through the horrors of foreclosure. And in many cases, this has been illegal, but poor people weren't sophisticated. They didn't have the help that they needed to save themselves. And what has Obama done about this? Absolutely nothing. He carries water for the zombie bankers that are most responsible. In Spain, we now have a new record of unemployment, 24%. That seems to be the highest in the Eurozone, one of the highest in the world. But, of course, here in the United States, it's shielded, it's masked. We've got 30 million unemployed here in the United States. It's something like 25%. So the U.S. and Spain are basically on the same level. Portugal is now paying almost 20% interest on its national bonds. All right. Now, this week, the center stage has been the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, the area evoked, of course, for the cognoscenti and literati by Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain, right there, Zauberberg, right, the world of illusions. While World War I is going to occur down on the plains of Europe, up here in the mountains of Switzerland, you've got a bunch of rich cosmopolitans who are pursuing their various illusions, whatever they are, right? And that's Hans Castorp. So the Hans Castorps of the world have now come together, except now they're finance oligarchs. Merkel kicked it off, right? Merkel gave the opening speech at the World Economic Forum, and she says, Germany has paid enough, and it's time now for fiscal austerity. The problem, Madame Merkel, with fiscal austerity is it doesn't work. If you cut the budget this year and think that you're going to get a balanced budget or progress towards a balanced budget next year, you won't get it. You're going to get a bigger deficit. That's what the whole Greek experience is now showing. They say Greece has not met its targets for deficit reduction and for growth. You can't do it with austerity cuts, right? Savage, brutal fascist, genocidal, whatever we want to call them all of those. It just doesn't work. The more you cut the budget now, the bigger your deficit will be in the future, and the amount of human misery, of course, is unlimited. Now, Europe is now in a kind of a fool's paradise. The European fool's paradise comes from the fact that about 4 or 5 weeks ago, Draghi at the European Central Bank put out that $650 billion. I guess it was, what did they say, 580 billion euros approximately, or thereabouts, of 1% 3-year credit, but only for zombie banks, not for governments, not for provinces, not for regions, not for regional authorities, not for international consortia, but only for zombie banks. So you had to be a parasite. You had to be engaged in financial speculation, gouging, usury, whatever it was, in order to get this money. So that was the Draghi policy. Now, of course, this solves nothing, but it does calm things down for a certain number of weeks. And I guess we're still in that area. Now, I want to come back and talk in a minute about the fundamental fallacy of Merkel and the rest of these people. In other words, they think that they're in 1923, and they are in 1929 or 1930 or 1931. So that's the area where you better get it right. We also have the following. The International Monetary Fund warned this week that the problems of the euro have increased the risk of a new global recession. That's the International Monetary Fund. So we would say a new downturn in the world economic depression, a new lurch towards a faster rate of collapse is what's actually at issue. It's not returning to recession. It's a further deepening of the rate of fall, or an acceleration of the rate of fall into the depression. So that's the IMF. Now, the World Bank is using relatively meager resources, $27 billion, to try to avoid the short-term bankruptcy of some of the satellite economies in Eastern Europe. And we're looking here at places like Poland, of Hungary, of Latvia, and some others. They're trying to use this, again, meager resources to try to avoid complete collapses in these places, because you can get, as the Hungarian experience of the last few weeks shows, the crisis in a small country can easily turn into a general panic. And again, the reason that the Hungarian crisis didn't turn into a panic or similar events in Southern Europe, that's simply because of this Draghi infusion. But that won't last forever. That will end soon. So now here we also have the Greek haircut. The Paris fashions this year will be, the new hairdo is now called the Greek cut, which is it's a crew cut where you cut off 50% of your hair, except the hedge fund hyenas won't let you do it. The goal here was supposed to be an agreed write-down, a reduction of the Greek debt owed by the Greek government to private debt holders was supposed to be reduced by 50%. That's what Merkel and Sarkozy wanted. Now the hedge fund hyenas say, no, we will not eat that kind of 50% loss. Now, the fact is they bought this stuff up at a much lower price. In other words, they could write it down 75% and still make money on the deal. But this shows the sociopathic role of hedge fund hyenas. They shouldn't exist. They should be regulated, taxed, and otherwise assisted into oblivion. They should no longer exist. We did better in the world when there were no hedge funds. So they were simply people like Jesse Livermore or something like that. Back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.